I gotta be honest about this one. I never expected this game to be as colorful and replayable as it is. At first glance, this game seemed to be just another beat 'em up style arcade game with a top-down camera angle perspective, but oh boy was I wrong when I started playing this. Before we get into the actual game, I want to point out that this game isn't as complex or content heavy as many other arcade slashers out there. Hell, I think this game has some of the least amount of content in the entire genre, but that's not going to stop me from reviewing this game, so without further ado, let's begin. AKANE released on the Nintendo Switch in May of 2019 and was developed by Ludix Studios, a game development company that only made 2 games, being The Keeper, which I know jack shit about, and of course AKANE. The game was published by Cubic Games, another indie game company responsible for putting a decent number of indie titles on the Nintendo Switch. AKANE also released on Steam in September of 2018, so if you're looking to pick this game up and don't have a Nintendo Switch, then you can buy it for about $5, so I recommend picking this game up for a really cheap price. But that's enough history for one video, so on to the game. Right off the bat, the game starts out with the cutscene of the main character AKANE basically pledging war, and then we're greeted to the main menu. It's pretty simple in design, and the options leave a little too much of a stale taste in your mouth. Where are the different game modes? Where's multiplayer? Where's the online functionality? This game doesn't have too much to be desired, which isn't always a bad thing, but this game I would hope would have some more stuff in it for you to do, but it's all just straightforward from the moment you start the game. Now normally around this time I'd start analyzing the story, but this game doesn't necessarily have a story for you to follow. A premise maybe, but a plot? No way. So, let's go over what we do know. The world of AKANE takes place in a fictional city based off of Tokyo, Japan called Mega Tokyo, set in the year 2121 with our main protagonist AKANE, who is a trained samurai and for some reason is the Yakuza's next target. Notice how I said for some reason, because this game doesn't elaborate or give us a shred of evidence as to why AKANE is being targeted by the Yakuza, just that she is a target and you need to defend yourself. Like, why not give us a backstory behind this, or some form of dialogue to read that explains more about the character we're playing as? This seems very vague in my opinion, and I for one prefer to know more about the characters I'm controlling in the game I purchased, especially if they're badass samurai bitches. You even get to meet this girl's father while playing through the tutorial, and still, no context. Was it her father who got her in trouble with the Yakuza? Her mother? Herself? We don't know because this game doesn't elaborate on why she is such a threat to this nearly century-old crime organization. The only theory I can muster up is that since she is such a skilled samurai, she must have killed or badly injured someone who was pretty high up in the Yakuza to get us to where we are now, but that's all I can really come up with that makes the most sense. Besides all that, I do really like the character AKANE if it wasn't obvious from what I said earlier. A trained master samurai set in the futuristic city of Tokyo, Japan, slicing and dicing up every Yakuza member that stands in her way. That is so badass, and for some reason she reminds me of Uma Thurman from Kill Bill. In fact, I think this game references the movie very subtly. There's a track in the game's OST named Yellow Jumpsuit, and I'm no expert on clothes and outfits, but I'm pretty sure that Uma's iconic outfit from Kill Bill is a yellow jumpsuit, so if it is, then I'm all for this game referencing such a badass movie like that. I also like the attitude AKANE gives off in the game. She's confident enough in her skills to know that she will take out enemies, but not too confident to where she feels like she's fucking God and is completely untouchable to anyone that dare try to lay a finger on her, and it's the simple balance of confidence and knowing when you're beat that makes characters so intriguing in my opinion. Like in the first cutscene, AKANE says, "I'm going to die here, but I'm taking you with me." Not as in I'm going to exterminate the entire Yakuza organization as a whole, because that would be impossible, but for those who try to pursue me, I am going to take you out. And I like that subtle confidence she has, as she herself knows more than anyone what she is capable of. Getting into the gameplay, it's simple yet unique for the most part. It has a sort of risk and reward factor to it, adding on to its replayability, and what I mean by that is the game relies heavily on your skill to not get hit once, because if an enemy so much as graces your face with their weapon, it's over and you'll have to completely start over from the beginning. See, I like this concept because it makes the game more difficult and causes you to go about taking out enemies in entirely different ways the more you die and start over, which does add to its replayability as I've mentioned earlier, but it can get a little repetitive too fast, and with this game not really having a set story to hold it down, it feels a bit lacking once you tackle the objectives you're given. Once you're in actual gameplay segments, you're secluded to a giant box-like area, and it's your job to hold out for as long as you can while dodging and attacking the Yakuza members who were sent to kill you. You take out at least 100 members of the Yakuza before taking on the only boss of this game, and just like with almost everything else up to this point, AKANE doesn't explain who the fuck this guy is or why he is so dead set on killing you, just that he's here, and he wants your fucking lunch money. Look, I've said this numerous times, but why not elaborate more on who these characters are before introducing them in the game? All that's going to do is confuse people wanting to play the game and get into it heavily like myself. I want to understand these characters. I want to understand AKANE more. I want to know why she's being chased by the fucking Yakuza. But this game doesn't elaborate enough on it for me to get a clear understanding, thus I have to resort to making theories just to get a sense of clarification as to why these events are occurring in the first place. Alright, rant over. When you're playing the game, you have two main styles of attacking, being your up close and personal attacks dealt by your katana and your long distance attacks dealt by your gun. You attack with the katana by pressing the A button repeatedly to do multiple swings, which will kill a decent number of enemies, but you can't go around swinging your sword indefinitely, as you have a stamina meter underneath you which runs down every swing you do, hence why I brought up that this game has a risk and reward system. If you press the B button, you can use your katana to block and deflect attacks from enemy swords and guns. It can even deflect the bullets back to the shooter, which is pretty neat, but you can only use your katana to block attacks for a short amount of time before you have to start blocking again. You can also use the gun in this game, which is a more unique twist when it comes to actual trained samurai. By pressing and holding the ZL bumper and moving the left analog stick, you can take aim and press the A button to fire off shots of your gun, which also kill enemies with one hit. But, just like the sword, you can't fire off shots infinitely as your gun has to recharge, but you can speed up the process by slashing your enemies with your katana. It's more engaging this way and causes you to strategize on the best plausible way to take out enemies more effectively, whether that be by sword or gun. You can also dash with the L bumper, which will be handy most of the time while taking out enemies and trying to evade them as much as possible. If you notice the orange trail it's leaving behind, that's because of the cigarette in her mouth, and it leaves a trail while pulling off your special moves as well. You can pull off your special moves after filling up the gauge at the bottom of the screen by just attacking your opponents enough times. Keep in mind that after you fill up a section of your adrenaline gauge, it will start to deplete pretty fast, so you need to make sure you keep attacking your opponents to keep that bad boy full. Now, it is possible to pull off one of the two special moves you're given without filling it up all the way, and that move is AKANE's Dragon Slash, where she can kill a number of enemies in a straight line with a single slash. This move will help in situations where you need to take out a number of enemies quickly to decrease the overwhelming amount on screen already. It will take a bit getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, it'll be a breeze killing off these enemies. You pull off the special attacks once you see the X button appear over the adrenaline meter. Then once you press X, you're able to aim wherever you want to attack by holding the ZR bumper and moving the right analog stick in a designated direction. From here you can pull off AKANE's Dragon Slash by pressing the R bumper, or her Dragon Slayer, which is a super helpful deadly slash attack where if you manage to pull this off, you can kill all enemies on screen by repeatedly pressing the A button once you manage to fill your gauge up all the way and proceed to press the ZR bumper. I can't tell you how helpful this is in this game. Having a move this broken already takes care of the killing 100 enemies thing, but you also get a nice close-up of AKANE's face. And did I mention that she looks really good with the cigarette in her mouth? Look, I'm against smoking cigs, but for her, I can tolerate it. Now that we've gotten all of the main aspects out of the way, I want to talk about the gear, as it is also important, but at the time of this recording, I've only unlocked one of the different weapons, but I do know what the other types of gear do, so let's go over that. You can unlock different guns, swords, shoes, cigarettes, and other accessories by completing tasks while playing throughout the game via the pause menu or your results screen after you die. I'm gonna be honest here, the only piece of gear I wanted to unlock were the different guns and swords, as those seem more useful than anything else. Like, the cigarettes are cool, but all they do is change the color of the trail left after you dash and do your special attacks. And the shoes just give you different on-foot abilities, like instead of dashing all over the screen, you run instead. And that's cool and all, but it's not gonna help me personally, as I feel more comfortable dashing, plus it's really fun to do as you take out enemies. As it stands, AKANE is a really fun game. Sure, the gameplay may seem really repetitive at first glance, but I promise once you play it, you'll enjoy it for the most part. The major issue I have with the game is that there is no plot, no story, no prologue, no epilogue, hell, barely any dialogue, and when we do get dialogue, it's so practical that you'll never understand what is going on. The characters have no story or plot elements to them, making it harder for people like me wanting to be fully immersed with these cool looking characters, therefore causing me to make theories on who these people are and what they're about. Everything else about this game will ensure that you have a good time. The gameplay, the objectives, the unlockables. Me personally, I like this game. I really like this game. The futuristic setting of Tokyo, Japan in a cyberpunk style where you play as a sexy samurai girl who uses guns, smokes cigarettes, and also dies after getting hit once is a nice concept, but this game lacking any form of story and development for not only the game, but the characters they introduce as well is a bit disappointing in my opinion and holds the game back significantly. The only positive I have left is that the music is super good. It blends in different aspects of traditional Japanese styled music with the more futuristic hip hop tone to it, and that's a nice combination if I do say so myself. And with that being said, I do want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day, and until next time.